Let's talk about another game that was a developer underscore direct, Beast of Reincarnation from Game Freak, the creators of Pokemon, which is a situation that was kind of like surprising, but perhaps pleasantly surprising when we first saw it. This presentation, I'd say there's good and bad points to it. Oliver, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say here, I mean, I'd like to hear John's thoughts on the game itself because this is not really up my alley in the same way that I suspect it is for perhaps some other people. But in terms of the tech here, I mean, it looks very UE5. There are a lot of shots that have a very Lumen-like appearance. That's fine, of course. I haven't seen any confirmation online directly, but I think this is very likely UE5. That'd be my assumption here. An area of concern, the key area of concern comes down to performance stability, because we've seen this game in the past. I think when it debuted some time ago, they were showing it off and it had a very unstable performance level that unfortunately has been maintained through the showing. So there is some gameplay that proceeds at a fairly stable 60 FPS with maybe some dips here and there. There are some sections that operate in a much more unstable performance level. And then there are some cutscenes that are kind of slideshows. So that's not too positive, unfortunately, at the moment. But if they can get around that, this seems like a good-looking UE5 game. It certainly shames the visual quality of recent Pokemon titles, which don't seem to have quite as much maybe budget or attention as this one does. I think this has been in development for quite some time. I think like 6 years or something. They've really been putting a lot of time into this one, and I think it shows in the final result, again, relative to their other titles, which potentially aren't quite polished to that same level of quality. So my only real concern here is the performance angle. I think that is the key concern here. Beyond that, it looks quite good. It looks like a good-looking UE5 title. Again, with Lumen lighting, you can see pretty clearly just the way that shadows are portrayed across the environment. It does look quite a lot like Lumen, I'd guess, perhaps software Lumen.
Yeah. John, you're a big champion of Japanese development, and I'm curious what you make of this one.
Yeah, so upon showing it though, I saw a lot of reactions suggesting that, oh, how they're making a game that looks like this. What about Pokemon, etc. But I think there's
Right.
a lot of misunderstanding about what this is in terms of the development side. It's shown as a Game Freak game, and they are involved, but this is part of their Gear Project initiative, which is something that's been around for a while, essentially where they sort of pitch an idea within the company, and then they allow it to get made by contracting other development
Oh,
studios. We actually don't know the partners on this currently, but it's likely no more than like 10, 12 people at Game Freak actually working on this.
oh,
And I'm sure they are deeply involved, no doubt, but it's very likely that this is mostly farmed out to another studio. And that's why I think we're seeing Unreal Engine 5 and a certain level of visual quality. It's like a different sort of thing. So this doesn't really represent Game Freak's internal abilities with their own technology. It's just an idea. And they've done a lot of these stuff like Harmonite, Pocket Card Jockey. There's like Timbo the Badass Elephant, stuff like that, where those are all part of this Gear Project initiative. And so this just happens to be, I would say, the most ambitious one of those that they've ever done. So,
Right.
which is cool. I actually do think, however, that there has been a significant improvement in terms of the demonstrated performance compared to the
Yeah.
initial showing.
yeah.
That
Absolutely.
initial showing was like in the teens. It was extremely choppy. It did not look good at all. And this, I would say, is mostly okay. I mean, some of the cutscenes are not perfectly smooth, but it's like mostly 60-ish, and we're still in the pre-release phase. I mean, we know the challenges of Unreal Engine 5, so a lot of that's not too surprising. I think we can almost kind of guess how it's going to end up running and what the image quality is going to be like, etc. But the game itself looks. I'm interested to see what they can do. I like the concept. I like the world they're building. This idea of like tapping into this sort of like natural Japanese beauty, but with like a weird sci-fi twist. But it's like there's like ruined, it's like the ruined skeleton of technology below the surface. Plus the Vine stuff, and just I think there's some potential here. So I'm certainly watching it, and I love that Microsoft got involved with this, which is
Absolutely. Yeah.
also interesting and unusual for them. So um, yeah, very curious to see where this goes.
I just love the style of the game. It's definitely
Beautiful, yeah.
Japanese inspired for obvious reasons. if it is running on Unreal Engine 5, it's an interesting example of how that style translates through that engine. I thought that was quite interesting. I don't think you can deny it's a visually arresting game. And some of the concepts that were on display there were very, very compelling. So I think, I think it's great that Microsoft have supported this title and made it come to, to come into being. It's multi-platform. It should be, I think it's coming to PlayStation at the same time as PC and Xbox. So that's interesting as well. I'm eager to see more, curious to see how this one pans out. But it's certainly different from a lot of the games that we see, and variety is very, very important in these times. There's not a lot of, even slightly risky bets being made at the moment. So it's great to see a game
Not
like
many.
this.
This feels like one that would have been a good target for Switch too, given the popularity of the console in Japan as well. But as we know, Unreal Engine 5, these like high-end games, we've still yet to see that be delivered well on the Switch too.